All right, welcome to the September 2025 MAS monthly meeting. My name is Waltz Treybergs. I'm the president of the Astronomical Society. Welcome you all here. And so let's just dive right into things. We've got a pretty packed bunch of different speakers tonight. So let's get going. Of course, that doesn't work. There we go. All right, so the agenda, I'll talk about the board. Steve will give a brief update on membership and a couple offers that he's posted. I'll go through the Astro events of the month and the current outreach requests that we've got upcoming right now. And then Doug Neverman will have an update on ELO. And then NOHA will do the treasurer's report as usual. Jerry, I don't think Jerry is in the room, but Jerry does not have any awards, but I got a couple things to talk about. And then PSAs and AL awards announcements again. Actually, it's in there twice. And then our featured speaker Dale Dellutri, who's right here, will finish up the. We also have a member presentation from Dave Dobrotka. Looks like a really interesting presentation, so can't wait. All right, let's get going. MAS board. Like I said, I am Waltz Treybergs president. John Zimmich, I believe, is away on family stuff today, so he's not here. But the rest of the board, Claire, Noha, Jesse, and Phil are all here. If you have any questions or comments for the board, please go ahead and contact us through the MN Astro website about board contacts page. There's a tool to get you there. All right, turn it over to Steve Emmert. He'll talk about the membership, and he's got a couple of additional slides as well.
Yep, it's on. Okay. Just a couple of things, I guess. Update, welcome to the new members, and welcome back to Anthony Pender. But any of the new members that have got since the last meeting here tonight? Welcome aboard. Glad to see you here. Which person are you? Zachary, how you doing?
Welcome.
There you are, up at the top. All right, that's even better. And interesting thing, just for the total number of members we have dropped back below 700. 7,000, that'd be cool. Anyway, at one point, I think it was about a year and a half ago, we were at a high of 740, but we're down just below it at 691 right now. 3 honoraries, as always, 159 patron members, 496 regular, and 33 students. So I think we're getting past the COVID bubble or something. So hopefully we'll start turning it back around and growing again with a exciting new year, hopefully. The other things I wanted to talk about, I posted on the forums a couple of group purchase type things. This one I'm not really excited about. We only got 2 people, Dean and Kurt had responded to it that they were interested in it. But Ioptron approached us saying that if we could get 5 people together, 5 purchases, we'd get a 10% rebate, or if we got 10 purchases, we'd have a 15% rebate. And it has to be kind of coordinated. You can buy them from wherever you want, High Point Scientific or any place. We just have to make sure that it's within the same 30-day period. And you'd have to send the receipts to me, because I'd coordinate the thing. And then we'd register it and we'd get the discount check. So we only had 2, as I said, so I'm kind of letting this one slide into the sunset unless something really exciting happens. Sure, go ahead. Okay, we'll extend it a little bit more than September 8th then. Noha said she wanted to extend it to the Iowa Club. So anyway, we'll extend it a little bit past September 8th, but if anybody's interested in this, it's any one of their mounts, whether it's an equatorial or they've got a few Altaz driven ones, and also their harmonic mounts. So anything like that, we could get a discount. So that was the end of that one. The one I'm kind of more interested in is a few years back, Jerry Jones clued me into a book called Object in the Heavens, and it's a really good observation book. 136 pages. It's about the same size, size-wise as a Pocket Sky Atlas. lays flat because it's spiral bound with the plastic spiral. He's asking for the group purchase $25 per copy, including all the postage and everything. So it's normally about $30 plus postage, so $37.45, and even a little bit more if you were to pay individually via PayPal. And I'm just asking you to sign up at the electronic media and book group forum. When I close it, I will, I'll close it out and then I'll go ahead and order all of the books at the one time. I'm actually going to extend it a little bit past the end of September now because the author of it, Peter Barron, is actually going to be our main presenter next month. So we'll see if some people want to do it after he talks. But anyway, it's a great little book, especially as I say, I'm the world's laziest astronomer. So what I do is I never plan during the day going before an observing session. So I go out there and I go, what constellations are up there? What can I look at? So I open it up to the constellation and it lists all of the objects in it. As you can see on these things, it shows a picture of the constellation, all the objects in it, and it bolds the eye candy ones. So it's a really nice reference book. Works whether you want to select what you're going to do for imaging or what you want to view. So anyway, if anyone's interested in it, go ahead and sign up on the forum for it. And that's the end of mine.
All right, thanks, Steve. All right, moving into Astro events for September. Between now and the next monthly meeting, I'll just, this is what I found. And so full moon on September 7th, total lunar eclipse. Say it, not here. Everywhere, but not here. September 8th, conjunction of Moon, Saturn, and Neptune, kind of a cool thing. The Epsilon Perseid meteor shower peaks September 9th. Last quarter moon, September 14th. A conjunction of Moon and Jupiter, September 16th. September 19th, conjunction of Moon and Venus, occultation, not here. September 20th, Titan transit. That is here and that is visible. So 12:09 a.m. to 2:34 a.m. So that's one of the last opportunities that we're going to have. I believe it is, yes. Yeah, so it's Titan and the shadow, both visible across the face of Saturn. Oh, by 20 minutes, half hour. Saturn will be at opposition on the 21st. So it's well placed for all that stuff. New moon, partial solar eclipse. Again, not here. It's like way down in Antarctica and you almost get nothing. Neptune is at opposition on the 23rd. The sextanted meteor shower peaks on the 27th. I don't know anything about that one. Moon at first quarter, September 29th. And Ceres is at opposition October 2nd. So that's an opportunity to see it. Upcoming space launches, me being a rocket nerd. Rocket Lab Electron is launching the Kinea satellite from New Zealand. Soyuz Roscosmos is launching Progress MS-32 cargo to ISS sometime this month. And also SpaceX Falcon 9 is launching a Cygnus cargo ship to the ISS this month. SpaceX is also launching the NASA IMAP solar wind mission. So that's going to be a mission that we keep an eye on going forward, especially for solar activity. And then hopefully Blue Origin is coming up on their launch of the NASA Escapade mission to Mars. So that would be the second launch of the New Glenn rocket. And then ESA Ariane 6 is launching a Galileo satellite. And then India and China are launching a whole slew of satellites. And then I don't even talk about Falcon 9 and Starlinks and all that stuff anymore. So it's just happening almost every other day. So any of these things can be found online. The Sky events, my main resource is in thesky.org. So it's a good resource for everything. So rockets go. All right, outreach requests. This is as of a couple days ago when I looked on the forum. I don't know if there's been anything new posted since a couple days ago. OICA STEM Sojourner Academy, Truth Academy on the 6th, looking for volunteers, September 17th. There's a memorial outreach at ELO opportunity. Bell Museum Star Party and Table, September 19th. City of Wayzata Energy and Environment, also September 19th. And then September 20th, in conjunction with the Bell Museum statewide Star Party, the Starapalooza event at LLCC. Welcome to help out on that. Mississippi National River Recreation Area on October 3rd. Bell Museum will have another Star Party with a table October 3rd, October 5th, Landscape Arboretum. Hamlin University is looking for something on October 9th. And then the Sally Manzar Interpretive Nature Center, Lake Elmo, October 11th. And then there's a JJ's Girl Scout group wanting an outreach event at JJC early in November or late in November. So those are opportunities. Talk to Jesse, look online, look on the forum. Yeah, question. So it's open to the public. I think they said last year there was about 30 or 40 guests came through, and we had some members coming through. So it really depends on the weather, but they advertise locally in the Aitkin area, in the area. So it's really local people come there, and it's a free event. They register in advance. It's a daytime presentations. We've got some volunteers that are offering some presentations here, and then the volunteers pull out the big scopes at LCC if the sky is clear, and LCC has their own scopes as well that they pull out, and we do that. But up to 50 people, it could be more. It's kind of a flow, come and go. People go all night long, so it's kind of a fun event. They probably could if they want to. All right. Yeah, but the Starapalooza is a fun event at LCC. It's free. Yep. No white light awards, not on this time. All right. Upcoming events for the MAS. Fall Astronomy Day is coming up. Saturday, September 27th at Eagle Lake Observatory. Presentations, daytime solar observing, public star party, speakers, all this kind of stuff. So volunteers always appreciated. So talk to everybody on the ELO committee, Lila, Don Gazdick, and the whole committee of volunteers are always appreciated for that, I'm sure. And I'm sure the ELO people will have something more to say on Fall Astronomy Day coming up. So, all right. Suresh, you want to talk about the BSIG, or do you want me to just talk about it? I'll just talk about it. You can jump in if you have anything. So Saturday, September 13th, 6:30 p.m. Bring your telescope. It's at Metcalf Field. So if you have a telescope, you don't know how to use it, that's the perfect place to bring it, because we'll have a bunch of MAS experts, volunteers there that'll guide you through the setup, the collimation, finding stuff, alignment, just, which end do you look in, where the eyepieces go, and all that kind of stuff. So it's designed for beginners. It's free. There's no obligation. You don't have to be a MAS member. Everyone is welcome. So Suresh keeps a list updated the list of emails. So if you want to do it, contact Suresh and sign up by filling out a form on the website calendar. That sends an email to Suresh, so he can keep a track on everybody who's coming. And then if for weather reasons he's got to cancel or anything, then he lets everybody know. The backup date is usually the Friday before, so that's kind of keep that in mind as well. If Saturday is no good, try to do it on Friday. Otherwise it gets canceled or postponed to a different weekend. So, yep. All right, 5 for 5 at BSIGs. Good deal. All right, other upcoming events. So we talked about the BSIG. There's a ELO Public Star Party Saturday, September 13th. Cherry Grove will have a member star party down in Cherry Grove. Friday, September 19th. That same weekend, there is the LLCC member observing weekend, and that is coincident with the LLCC Starapalooza event. So members going up there, please help out with the Starapalooza event. It's just a fun deal. You just get to share your telescope views with the public up there, which usually we don't get to do. But yeah, Steve.
Oh, can I say something on the Cherry Grove one? As soon as I get it back down there, number one, the BAD will be working again because the Argos, we've got a new Argo actually. And also we will have Wi-Fi.
Excellent.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, Steve. And thank you for the donors for the Wi-Fi. Yes. All right. LLCC member statewide star party at ELO on the 20th from 7 to 10. So that's another public star party at ELO. LLCC member weekend, September 26th, 27th at the end of the month. Cedar Creek will have a star party on the 27th, two separate sessions. 2 to 5 will be a daytime solar observing session, and then 7 to 11 will be the normal star party at Cedar Creek. So that's Cedar Creek Star Party is resuming. We kind of take a hiatus in the summertime when the nights are too short, but they're starting up again. Fall Astronomy Day, like I already mentioned, at ELO Saturday, September 27th, pretty much all day long, fun family event, free to the public. And then the next monthly meeting, Thursday, October 2nd, right here, 7 p.m. And I'll talk about the speaker. Actually, the speaker is the author of the book that Steve was talking about, Peter Buren, and he will be the main speaker. Key holder training sessions. So there's a couple key holder training sessions still available for this year at ELO Saturday, September 13th. Okay, cancel that one. Okay. And then there's one scheduled for JJC Saturday, September 13th as well. That's sign up on the forum. And then CGO Friday, September 19th, also sign up on the forum. And then we had our LLCC training session at NNSF a few weeks ago. So if there is anybody who wants to get trained up at LLCC, just contact any of the committee people. And if we can coordinate and do a one-on-one training up there, we just coordinate that live. So, but just contact anybody at the LLCC committee through the website. All right. Any questions about any of the training sessions or any of the MAS events? All right. So we've got a brief presentation from Doug Neverman on the Eagle Lake Observatory and the committee activities and some of the new things that are happening up at ELO. So welcome, Doug. And
did you say brief?
I hope it's brief.
You hope it's brief?
Yeah.
All right. My name is Doug Neverman, and I'll be talking about the Eagle Lake Observatory and kind of what's been happening there. Is this the right button? No, that's not the right button. There we go. If you don't know where it is, this is, I have a laser on it. Down here is Highway 212. This is Norwood, Young America. And if you turn right onto there, and it's up in Baylor Regional Park. So that's kind of where we're located. It is where we're located. We provide quality optics. We do public outreach. So there's two things if you look at our charter that we're supposed to do. The first one is to provide places and optics, or to help other imagers. I said imagers, but observers and imagers. But also then the second one is public outreach. So we schedule a lot of programs out there for public star party nights. And we just also provide a space for members to go set up and observe or image with their equipment. I go out there quite a bit and set up. It's a safe place to kind of go once the gate is working properly. It's a Bortle 4 sky, but that's a 2015 number, so I'm not really sure what the number is now. It's probably not that good, but anyway. If you haven't been out there, we have quite a bit of quality equipment. We have a visual rig that we use. There's also an imaging rig that you can go out there and take pictures. There's SA Casby, and then we have a big, what is that, a 20-inch Dob, I believe? Yeah. The imaging rig is kind of something that's been happening over the last couple of years. Now, if you are interested in imaging, this is a good place to get started, because what you can do is to go out there and take some pictures. Once you're trained as a key holder, I should say that, You can take pictures and then you can go home with the JPEG of that picture, put it on Facebook for your friends and family to look at. So it's actually fairly easy to get a good picture if you have time to get out there and then time to take some pictures. Here's the ELO committee. My name is not on there. I was the chair. But this past month, and I went off, and I'm off of the committee. But we have two new members, being Mike Kibbett is on there, and Rasman, who is also an imager. So that's the current makeup of the committee. Don Gazdick, raise your hand, Don, is the new chair. Are there any other committee members here? Thank you, Don, for volunteering. I don't see any other committee members here. Larry is here sometimes, but I'm not seeing him. Rasman's online. Okay, so let's go on. There we go. So here are the 2025 statistics. Actually, it's 2024 and 2025. And this is 2024 is for all of last year. So it's through the end of December, where 2025 is only obviously actually it's to mid-August is what I had the sheets for. So there are some outliers in this 2024 number, and it's this number here at 5,279. And there's two outliers in that number that I wanted to identify. One of them is that the Camping with the Stars was wrapped up all in one number. So if there was somebody there Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday morning, they got counted 3 times. So there is a little bit of there. The other problem with this 2024 number was it April or May in 2024 when we had the big aurora? Okay, May 10th. And there were people out at the ELO, some key holders that were out there at the ELO facility, and they said, oh, there's so many people here, why don't we just open up and have a public star party? And they did that, and they shouldn't do that again, because there weren't enough key holders to really manage it. The 1,200 people that were out at Eagle Lake Observatory to see. So you can reduce that. The donations probably don't get reduced very much from that. But as you can see, we're not doing as well this year. I think we could probably come up with reasons for that. Weather and smoke might be one of those reasons. So yeah, we're behind last year. If you look at the numbers, I didn't put up the 2021. I had numbers from over the years, but COVID really hit the attendance, and you could see that dip. If you look at last year's presentation, it really caused a dip and come up. But if you kind of ignore that, then we were kind of going up in numbers. So the one thing we're concerned about then is, and that's why I have this down here. There's a laser. We had 3 parties with over 70 attendees. Now, 70 seems like a weird number until you understand that the size of our classroom is about 70 people. So this has been a problem every once in a while over the past several years, where we just have more people than we do than we can put in a classroom. So that's something that the committee, we know about it, we've talked about it a little bit, but we really haven't done any further work in terms of what should we do about that. And there's several different solutions that we haven't really looked at, haven't really discussed. Key holders. So as of Monday, when I talked to Larry Kane is in charge of our managing our security. I asked him how many people, key holders do we have, and we have 124. 40 of them have volunteered or have come out to ELO this year. And if you look at these numbers, then 30 of them have come out 5 times or less, which means that 10 of our key holders have come out 6 times or more. And they're carrying quite a bit of load. And 3 of them came out 20 times or more. I don't exactly remember who those people were. I could take a guess, but I'm not sure who they are. We do have training, and this year's class is 18 that I've trained so far this year. We've made changes to the training because the way it has been run 2024 and back, it's like drinking from the fire hose. So if you've ever been through that training 2024 or earlier, you learn how to operate every piece of equipment at the ELO facility in one day. In one day, and it's just overwhelming. Now, one of the problems we have is that in terms of training ELO people, key holders, and how many of them become active, and that number is around 5%. So it's I don't know whether that's dismal or not, but it's something we have to. I don't like the number. I would like to see more of our people, key holders, new key holders, come out and help. That translates to about 1 or 2 people a year that we add in terms of active key holders. Rosman happened to be one of those. So one of the changes that I did this year, we did 2 changes. One of them is that when you come out for a training session, you can only train on 1 telescope in that particular session. So you can only train on 1. And the objective is so that you don't have to drink from the fire hose and get so overwhelmed by all the material that you get that you said, oh, I don't think I can do this. It's too much for me. So that's one of the things we did. Excuse me. The other thing that we did was to implement a tutoring session that people can come in and ask for to be tutored on a particular telescope. So they fill that out, and just like in the other, I think we have this at JJC, right? If you fill it out, then your name goes out to the people who can train on that particular piece of material, and then they can, or particular telescope, and then you can arrange a date with them. So if you have trained, then you can get a tutor who will come out and tell you which button to push and go through all the things that are necessary to be able to use that equipment, to be able to get more comfortable with it. Let's see. Go on, there we go. Camping with the Stars happened at the beginning of August, and I just wanted to go through, there was lots of questions last year about it. We had 91 online registrations, and that's done through the park. And then there were 19 walk-ins. The estimated attendance, this would be for, I think, just Saturday night, was 148. You look at that and say, well, what happened to the other 20? There's 2 things possible. Number one, if you're 5 or under, you don't have to register. You don't have to pay for registration. The other thing is that we really don't check to see whether you've registered or not when you come to the observatory. So there could have been people camping out and said, oh, the observatory is open, and just come over without being registered. So that's why that number is probably a little bit different. And the financials in terms of that, there's our income, our expenses, and our balance. So we have a positive balance of a little over $1,000 that we took in. If you have any questions, you can ask. I will ignore you. But so some of the improvements and the maintenance that we did this year. You can read the list as well as I can read it and speak it, but we're working on stuff. Stuff comes up that need to be that we didn't plan for. So the board helps us out with that particular funding when something sideways comes. And improvements, we moved the projector forward, which is a big thing because we were always having to adjust it to make sure it fits into the screen. And new lighting up front. So the hotspot team, which is led by Mike Kibbitt, has been very, very active in terms of getting stuff done in the hotspot area. There's an internet upgrade. We have fiber out there now. The county or the park put in the fiber all the way up to the hotspot, and then we attached it from there. So the park was very kind in getting us that upgrade. Now, the other thing is that if you look at the sign when you go out at the ELO facility, it says Onan Observatory. So after the last, even before I was on the committee, we were talking about, the committee was talking about getting that sign changed from Onan Observatory to Eagle Lake Observatory. So we worked with the park this year to see what we can do to get a new sign there. And I basically told Sam, who was my contact with the board, now Don's contact with the board, I said, you know, we want to replace the sign, but we don't have the funds to do it right now within ELO, given our financial situation. So, and then he said, that sign is really ratty. He didn't like it at all. It's in bad shape. So the park said, we will buy you a new sign and put it up for you. So we're going to get a new sign, and they're going to pay for it. And then he asked, and if you can, over the next several years, can we get some money? And that's something from MAS to help pay for that. So that's something that the board and the committee need to talk about. Okay, Don asked about what was the power supply problem with the Casby. The problem has been occurring over, has had symptoms over the years, the last several years. Finally, what it came down to is that whenever you turned it on or tried to do any slewing, you would get this high pitch inside the observatory. Now, I was a software. I was actually as an engineer in a development laboratory, and we worked on power supplies for, avionics. And one of the things that you do is they're all switcher power supplies, but as you close the loops, then if something goes wrong in terms of that power supply, you get this high pitch ringing coming out. So when I heard that, I said, that's got to be the power supply. So we identified the problem basically in must have been June or July, and then we got a Mark Job donated, or not donated, but let us use the power supply that he had that would handle the current, and we put that on there, changed the procedures for it and stuff like that. Thank you, Mark, for doing that. And the problem has gone away. So we know we need a new power supply. The committee needs to figure out actually the team, and that would be Dean Clark, needs to figure out what that power supply is, and then we'll get it ordered and get it put in. Where are we? I generally don't do this. This is all the cement work that was done. One of the problems we had is these bolts that hold the mama bear roof down into those bricks. You could take those bolts out. So it wasn't really, some of them were attached, but not all of them were attached. And we knew this was a problem, so this crew, Monyak, I believe is their name, cleaned this all out, and then put in new bolts, different bolts that had L's on the bottom, and then cemented them all in, and so the result is it looks like this. So that roof is now attached. Now, the question is, why wasn't it attached? And that's water infiltration over the years. And we've done a couple things to mitigate that. We've put neoprene washers up in here where those bolts go into there to help any water getting into there. We also put sealant around the joints up here, especially on the outside, and to keep water from going in. We've also added that to the spring cleanup day to inspect those seals to make sure that they're in place. So we're trying to mitigate any of the water that gets down into this brick wall, and starts to basically destroy the with expansion and stuff, destroy the cement. We also did this is the door that everybody goes in when they get there. And these bricks down here, those CMEs, excuse me, were in bad shape. And so this was last year before winter. So it's at least within the last year. The same crew came in and took out all those bricks and put in new bricks for us. So we're just trying to correct any problems we have from water infiltration and try to keep that water out. So, the other thing that we did was that you can see the sidewalks were tripping hazards, and we wanted to fix that. We didn't want anybody tripping in the middle of the night because they can't see the supposed step that's there. So I generally don't want to call out people for the work they did. I just want to say the committee, but in this case, all of this work, I'm going to name the person, and if somebody feels that they should have been named for something, I'm sorry, but the person that got all of this work done that's on the committee is Doug Surich. I'm sorry. There we go. Is Doug Surich, and he delivers. He deserves a lot of credit there, and he had help. I know Larry Kane come out and help. We do have an Olin Building Committee. The lead on that is you, Mr. Ramsey, Phil Ramsey. But Doug Surich is the liaison between that committee and that subcommittee, that team, and the committee. But Doug did a lot of work, and I really thank him. All right, that's it for me. No questions? No more questions? Okay, I can handle that. You're welcome. You want the microphone now?
Thank you, Doug.
I don't want the microphone, but you have to give it to me.
So a big round of applause for Doug here for his work on the committee over the last couple of years. He's not going away. Like he said, he's still going to be involved in training, and the transition from Doug to Don, I'm sure is happening as we speak and over the next months. And we look forward to continued work with the ELO committee, and the board supports all the work the ELO committee's been doing, and that. All right, couple things before the treasurer's report. Quick update on NSF. We had about close to 65 participants at NSF, and a couple thank yous to do. We had a whole slew of sponsors that sponsored all of our prizes. They're all listed on the bottom here, and especially Mary Gregory, who happens to be here as well, who's already working on another prize of something. So thank you for all of the work there, and thank you to the committee. So announcing for save the date NSF 2026, we have moved it to September. So put in your calendar September 9 through 14th, 2026. So we moved it a little bit further back, maybe a little bit longer nights, maybe a little bit cooler nights, hopefully clearer nights as well. All right. Speaking of donations, we did get a recent donation from Blackbaud Giving Foundation. I believe that was from Anderson Windows. I don't know if that was from you. We have got several members from that work for Anderson. So if you work for a company that has some kind of giving foundation, please apply. We've got a number of members that have done that, and that gives us a nice little revenue stream throughout the year. These corporate match donations, outright gifts.
So Anderson, one of the things, and a lot of companies do that too, if you plug in your volunteering hours,
Yes.
they'll pay a specific amount,
Yeah.
not just matching.
Okay. Yeah. Every company is a little bit different, but yeah, there's different ways to do it. Also, want to acknowledge Mark and Kathleen Bunnell recently donated a 12-inch Meade ACF system, and we've decided to we're going to install that and put that out at our Cedar Creek facility to replace the old Celestron 11-inch that we have out there that's got some problems. So it's a really nice scope. I picked it up last week, so really proud. You know, hopefully at the next Cedar Creek Star Party that'll be up and running. All right, so again, check with your employer to see if they offer a donation match or grant to MAS. It's always appreciated. All right, Astronomical League. So Jerry Jones, we're gonna have to deal with virtual Jerry yet again. He's not around, but he doesn't have any awards this month. I did speak with him, but I did mine in the AL website. There's a couple things that are kind of interesting. So there are 3 AL special observing challenges that are active. One is the T Corona Borealis. So obviously we're still waiting on that. We don't know how long we're going to wait on that, but that's an AL special observing challenge anytime now. The second one is International Observe the Moon Night Observing Challenge 2025. So if you go on to the AL website, there's some things, there's some sketching about that, different features of the moon. So that's another pin that you can get. And then the fourth one I want to point out is, I'm sure some of us can do it if we really want to, is the Huygens TOES Observing Challenge, which is basically a Saturn Titan transit observing challenge. And I think all you have to do is submit a couple pictures or a couple observations. So you probably already got it. All right. So again, I'll look on the astroleague.org AL Observing Challenge Special Observing Awards. And should we all listen to Jerry?
Get out there and observe, or image.
Or scare everybody?
Get out there and observe.
Okay, not twice as too much. In addition, at the Astronomical League store, got a notice in the mail that the Handbook 2026 and calendar, the RAC calendar is available. And if we want to get together a group purchase 10 plus, reduced shipping for the handbook $26, and for the calendar it's $21. So if a group wants to get together, that's something to consider. They're both really nice things to get. Ways to volunteer. I mean, we've talked a lot about volunteers. So one way to do it is presentations. We're going to have a member presentation. So we need, this is kind of old, I did not apply, but currently the ELO committee is full. I don't know more people, but always all the committees are looking for volunteers and key holders, work and help out, parties and whatnot, and maintenance. The web team is looking for help. If you have interest in WordPress or managing AP forums or do some Google kind of behind the scenes kind of tasks, got some opportunities to do that with spam bots, and our forum is really getting nailed. So we're really trying to fight the bad guys out there on the internet, and it's becoming more and more work. So join one of these committees, help out at public star parties at ELO, and always welcome to help also out at BSIGs. They're all just fun events. And always do outreach. There's so many outreach opportunities like I already talked about. So if you have any questions or have any ideas for any other kind of volunteering you might want to do, just send an email to info@mnastro.org and we'll get it and we'll jump on it and we'll reply to you, and maybe we can find a home for your idea. All right, we need your presentations. So if you've got, instead of doing the better know a constellation like we always used to do over and over again, kind of got boring. But if you've got some observing campaigns, so astronomical objects or something that you're really passionate about, you want to share, I'm sure everybody here is also going to want to listen. So yeah, adventures to dark sky places around the world. If you build a new wacky 3-mirror folded telescope or a new mount that you've just figured, you want to restore an old telescope. I like share outreach projects, observing, imaging, all that stuff is available for presentation. So if you want to do a quick and really simple presentation, 10, 15 minutes tops, send an email to ahmed@programs@mnastro.org and we'll fit you into our program. So speaking of presentations, we have a presentation from Dave Dobrotka. And Dave, you want to come up here? There on. Hey, all right, Dave.
Check.
Forward back. Yep, one more. All right.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate everybody coming out on the rainy night tonight. So y'all are obviously more dedicated than everybody else who's not here, I have to say. My name's Dave Dobrotka. I grew up here in Minnesota, actually. This is my first MAS presentation for forever, I guess. I grew up here. I went to the University of Minnesota, got an astrophysics degree, barely, and then went into cybersecurity. Actually, I joined the Air Force because I had no prospects because I wasn't going to grad school for sure. Joined the Air Force, who took me to Texas for about 10 years, and we've been back about 15. So this is where we're from. I really liked Clayton's presentation last month about his trip to South America. Mine's not quite so far away, but I just want to talk about the Green Bank Observatory. How it started, here we go. I'd say it's a confluence of really a bunch of different events that happened. My daughter's a senior in high school, and we were walking around Wheaton, Illinois, and just happened upon she was there for a college visit, and we happened upon this plaque, which was kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and it was about Grote Reber in 1937 built a radio telescope in his backyard, and it's kind of credited as the first operating radio telescope ever. And so, there's a picture over here, but you can see it's 30 feet across. He built it out of roof rafters and plywood and parts from his truck. So, and I immediately thought of this. I was like, anytime I ever get flack about my astronomy equipment, I just point to this to my wife. I'm like, could be worse, right? It could have that in the backyard. We got home, and it just so happened there was if you've seen it, there's a documentary on PBS about the Green Bank Observatory and about the telescope. That's the big telescope that's there. Is really excellent. So at the time, my daughter was applying, I think got accepted to a camp of sorts, I guess, in Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley. And so I looked at a map and saw, well, since we're driving, it sort of looks like it's on the way. I think we should just stop at the telescope. And nobody could argue with that logic, of course. So that's what we did. We went on our way. You can see where it's located here. In West Virginia, the National Radio Quiet Zone was established in the early 50s, the mid 50s, I guess, right at the height of the Cold War. And at that time, the U.S. had decided that they were going to go big into radio astronomy. There were some other nations, communist nations, that were getting ahead of us in that regard, and so we decided to go big. So they created this 13,000 square mile radio quiet zone, and it still exists today. And essentially, it's an area where they regulate what you can install. So as you drive into it, it's interesting. Like the cell towers go from 100 feet high to like 40 feet high as you get closer to it. And then there's none. And it's built into a natural valley as well. So where the telescope is, and it sort of shields from all the other radio interference as well. So this was as we started to get, we came into Green Bank, where it's located. The road, there's two roads that lean into Green Bank, and Green Bank is in the middle of nowhere, literally. Like it's really a rural community, and it's kind of surrounded by farms. There's a dollar store, but this is kind of what you see. And if you can really see the telescope, is that kind of obvious there? And there's actually two telescopes. There's the GBT, that's the big one, but you can also see one of the 85-foot telescopes as well, part of the interferometry telescope setup there. But this was probably, I don't know, 2 miles away, something like that. So it was just starting to peek over the horizon. When you get there, it's a pretty large facility. It's maybe, I don't know, maybe 100 acres, something like that. It's open every day. There's a science center there where they have interpretive exhibits and things like that. There's actually a pretty decent museum as well. And then there's an operations building as well. And so you walk in the front, but there's a window that faces the other telescopes essentially, and that's how they monitor what's going on. Let's see, I'll make sure I cover. There's also a bus tour. So from the center to walk out there is probably, I don't know, it's probably 1.5 miles or something like that to actually walk. They actually have nature trails that go out actually all throughout. So of course we're going to see the big telescope, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But so you get on the bus, and this sign that you can see here, of course it's private property, but it says, everybody can see that, authorized diesel vehicles only. Any idea why it's only diesel? No spark plugs, right? That's right. Spark plugs create a lot of radio frequency interference. And so there's that sign, and then once the gate went up, there's another sign with like a circle with a slash through spark plugs, just to really make sure you didn't go in there with a spark plug. When you got on the bus back at the center, they talked about radio frequency interference and how this screws up the observations. And of course, the telescope is observing 24 hours a day, because you can do that in the daylight, of course. And so we get on the bus, and the lady who's driving it opens a Faraday cage. There's like everything in there. So you put your phone, and she's like, as I was walking back, she's like, what about your watch? I'm like, oh yeah, it talks Bluetooth. That also can get picked up. So everything goes in there, and you drive through. And they've got 4 or 5 telescopes lined up, smaller telescopes that were all built in the 50s as well. And then there's another road that goes to a runway. And as luck would have it, this is just pretty typical for us. We showed up, and she was like, well, that's actually as close as you can get to the big telescope, because they're painting it. And so they're stripping all of the paint off the feed arm. And the government, of course, is worried about health hazard from the dust floating around. And so the lady driving the bus was married to an astronomer who had worked there for many years, who had passed away, and she was she just worked there because she was familiar with it. I said, man, we really can't go back there. And she said, well, kind of looked at me sideways. She said, probably nobody's going to stop you if you walk out there. So we rode the bus back up to the center, and immediately took a walk down to the telescope. And by the way, they actually got a bid to paint the whole telescope, because it's kind of in need of a paint job. And the contractor came back and said it was going to cost $80 million to paint it. She said they used to just hang college students off it, and they would paint with a paintbrush, but they couldn't do that anymore for whatever reason. So they said, well, how much can you do for $4 million? She said, well, she said that they can repaint the feed arm. So that's what there was nobody there. It was on a Sunday. But it's really hard to really get the size of, from a picture. You really have to go see it, I think. But this was right at the base. We couldn't get past the fence without getting arrested, I think. But we took a picture from there. But it's enormous. And just to give you some scale, Actually, before I do that, I just want to point out the small picture on the side. You can see how it's mounted here. So there's 4 trucks that it kind of sits on, smaller wheels that turns. So each, you do the math, each of those wheels holds like 500,000 pounds. Just to do the back of the napkin math. It's fully steerable, and it has a pointing. You can see the pointing accuracy there of 1 to 2 arc seconds. I mean, really amazing technology. It's very smooth. That 260 microns is like 5 human hair or something like that, thereabouts. The area of the dish is like 2.5 acres. So there's a field in front of my house that's about 2.5 acres. I was like, wow, that's fully steerable. Here's some size comparisons. So you could fit all the way across. It's like 110 meters, something like that. So you could probably fit the old Metrodome in there pretty easily at that point. The dish style is what's called an off-axis paraboloid. And if you've ever seen a dish network dish, it's kind of the same idea. What they did is they took a piece of a paraboloid. So they took it's kind of an outside piece, but you point it at what you're looking at, and then you put the feed arm up at the focal length, at the focal point off to the side, so it gives you a completely unobstructed view of whatever you're looking at. It's a really clever design. Of course, there's been other telescopes there. The current the GBT, the Green Bank telescope, that's the one I just showed you. It's called the Green Bank telescope. Do you know what they call a 300-foot telescope? The 300-foot telescope. That's what they called it. It was, yeah. Astronomers are super good about that. 1.2 million pounds. Again, for such a big device, it's actually performed pretty well. They put pen to paper to design it in 1959, and it was built by 1962 and operational. When it could hold 400 tons of snow if it needed to, whatever, but it finally fell down in 1988. That's a small picture. Excuse me. On the side, there was and you can't really see the bottom here, but this is what's called a transit mount. So it can only move north and south, and you would just point it in the area that you needed to look at, and then you'd wait for the turning of the Earth to put the object in view that you were interested in. There was a plate that was kind of essential to the integrity of the entire device that had failed over a period of time and finally just tore, and the whole thing fell down, unfortunately. This one caught my eye. This is a 140-foot telescope. Again, just some things about that. So the moving weight, so the weight just of this part up here is 5.4 million pounds. And here you can see but I thought that was an impressive polar mount. Oh, you think my M5 is pretty good? It's got nothing on that. Polar axis itself is 12 feet in diameter, 67 feet long. There's actually a ball up on top here that's what the entire telescope upper part turns on, essentially. And so this was that bottom picture. This is how they would service the instruments in the feed horn to change them out or do things like that. This is also the way they took snow off. So I saw a picture where they turned it down like that, and then there was somebody standing there with a tennis ball, and they would just whack it, and the snow would fall off. So last one, this is just there's amazing technology, but back in the 60s and 70s, all the things that they discovered, I won't drain this list, but it's quite amazing what they were able to do with that technology back in the 60s and 70s. The one I thought was interesting, this from formaldehyde in space. Had never been multi-atomic structures have never really been detected before until they pointed the 300-foot telescope out into space and found some. So just really amazing resource that we have here in the United States. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Does anyone have any questions? Suresh? Question from Suresh. Yeah.
Question.
The Reber telescope you were mentioning, the one from Wheaton, Illinois.
Yep.
So I was just reading up online. It ended up there at Green Bank. Apparently they have it. Did you get to see it? Was it out there?
I did, and yeah, it actually is sitting out there, and they have it mounted. They have it set up the same way that he does, and yeah, it's really 30 feet. I mean, and he lived in like a neighborhood, and so the museum has reproductions of some of his strip charts that he used to do the recordings, and you can see there's like spikes, and those are like passing cars with their spark plugs getting picked up by the telescope. So. Yeah, it is on the list. Yeah. So, if you find yourself in the middle of West Virginia, that'd be a good thing to go see. Thanks, Waltz.
Thank you. All right, again, members are open at similar presentations, real simple, fun to do, and we always are. I know Conrad's working on one. Hopefully we'll have that one soon. All right. Loaner Scope Program. Antone.
Yes, the Loaner program operates year-round, and we have 19 instruments, binoculars, one solar scope, some Dobbs, some Schmidt-Cassegrains, and a couple of refractors. Members can go online, fill out this form under the Loaner Scope program, and that sends an email to me, which I will respond to, and then we arrange a pickup of the telescope at my home in Badness Heights. Then you get to use the telescope for a month and return it to me in good condition. And we also have these DVDs, short courses available on all things astronomy. I also loan those out, and if you need them for more than a month, that's just fine, because it takes more than a month to do that. I think that's really about it. Do you have any? Yeah, Shresh? There are telescopes available now. I think there's just a general assortment. About half of them are out right now. But again, if you want a particular telescope and is not available, it'll come back. So I just put you on a waiting list for it.
Thank you, Antone. All right, Weekly Happenings comes out every Tuesday. Claire, our secretary, puts those out together. So if you have any announcements for the general MAS membership and anyone else who has subscribed, please send an email to secretary@mnastro.org, usually by the end of the previous week, and then she'll get it ready, prepare it for sending out on Tuesday. So that's the Weekly Happenings newsletter. Online communities, please take advantage of our online communities. We're active on Slack. We have an active forum, forum.mnastro.org. Slack is open to members only. The forum is open to pretty much anybody. And then we're on YouTube. All of our meetings are recorded, edited, and posted on YouTube. Our BSIG meetings that Suresh hosts in the wintertime with special presentations are also posted and put on YouTube. Plus, we have some training videos as well on our YouTube channel. So look up Minnesota Astronomical Society on YouTube and you'll find our channel. We're also on Instagram and Facebook. So if you have any images or anything you want to share, send it to our Chris, our social media coordinator at socialmedia@mnastro.org. If you have images you want to share, please watermark your work to take credit for it. All right, official MAS stuff. We are still using Cafe Press, so we've got hats and mugs and shirts and all that good stuff, as it has been before. We have been talking about a new resource, and that is Redbubble. Unfortunately, we've run into some issues with Redbubble. There's some issues with their customer service and some technical issues. So we are actually looking for an alternative to redbubble, so we're exploring those right now. So as soon as we figure all that stuff out, we will announce everything here and in happenings. But sorry about that delay. We kind of were putting up Redbubble, but not quite ready yet for that. So Cafe Press is still what we got. So Redbubble is going away. All right, Gemini, several times a year, Father Brown puts together the Gemini. So if you've got a longer article you want to write, please send it to Gemini at mnastro.org. All of our articles are archived on the website and searchable. So if you're looking for something that was written back in 1985, you can find it. All right, we are at our featured speaker right now. So Dale, please come forward. Dale is with Skokie Valley Astronomers, and his topic is, could we understand an alien message? Now we're going to switch to his computer, so there'll be a slight pause here, but welcome, Dale.
So my topic tonight is, could we understand an alien message? I want to first of all thank the Minnesota Astronomical Society for having me here. And I am a member, as Walt said, of the Skokie Valley Astronomers. I'm also a member of the Northwest Suburban Astronomers Club. That's my email address at the top and my website at the underneath that. Give you an idea of what I can. I have a number of presentations that I can do. If you go to the website and click on the presentations, that you can look at my catalog of presentations. So I'm going to talk about this topic question, could we understand an alien message? So I thought the best way to start would be to listen to some aliens communicating. Hold on a second here. Was, of course, back whales communicating, or vocalizing, I should say. And that's the problem. I got song in quotes and a question. It's human interpretation of what they're doing. We have no idea. Whales study sort of vocalizations. And so far, what they've been able to determine is where vocalizations change pitch or tempo, and then those are organized and phrases, and then phrases, finally themes, which are the longest pieces, and that's all we can tell. And now we know there's some similarity to human speech, but as for exactly what's going on there, we don't know. As we go through this topic, we don't understand these aliens, and we've been studying. But now wait a minute, hasn't this topic question been answered already? Well, it certainly has in fiction. Okay, we've got Carl Sagan's Contact there, and here I'm talking about the book, which, believe me, is better than the movie. And book, researchers receive a message from near the star Vega, and they find out that it's a repeat, so it's resent inadvertently to the cosmos. In it, instructions for making destination unknown, and the destination turns out to be the center of the galaxy. While this machine is being made, there are this is not going to blow up the whole Oregon. Worried about this middle book, Hercules text. This is by Jack Evan. In this one, SETI, this is a very old book, and it's about SETI researchers who seem to have a telescope on the far side of the moon who received radio communication from an alien civilization. And it turns out to be an encyclopedia of all of their knowledge, and it includes instructions on how to make very advanced machines. One of the scientists in the group makes one of the machines, and it is inadvertently dangerous, kills him and several others. So eventually, one scientist in the group decides to destroy all of the message except for the medicine one, which he steals, and then he goes and hides, and he hopes to be able to introduce it to people in a way that will be safe. Obviously, this is before the internet and before social media, so shows that some of this stuff, if we get an alien communication, we have to worry about danger. The last one is Stanislaw Lem. Now, he specializes in writing novels about the impossibility of understanding alien messages. And his reason is because he worries about the fact that we don't have shared communication, shared experiences with them. You know, they weren't on Earth, they don't have that sort of thing. So it's in this book, the scientists receive a neutrino signal and they work on it for decades. And at the end, they're never really sure whether they've received an alien communication or some sort of misunderstood natural phenomenon in the universe. So it's a very depressing kind of novel about alien communication. And there's lots and lots of sci-fi stories about receiving alien communications that are usually not that good to receive, usually dangerous for the receiver. But these are just fictional accounts, but they raise questions that we really need to answer or think about at least. So the first question is, could we actually receive an alien message? All right. Now, of course, we've been looking at the skies since we've been people. And in fact, early civilizations thought that some of the sky objects were messages from the gods. They were alien communications. But really, to have scientists record and research alien communications that are visual required recording equipment that really didn't exist until the 1950s. The second satellite there on the next to the person with the telescope is the first X-rays telescope, the High Energy Astronomy Observatory, later renamed the Einstein Observatory. That was launched into space in 1978. The next one over is the Compton Gamma Ray Observatory, being released into orbit by the Space Shuttle Atlantis in 1991. Radio astronomy started with Gruber, as we saw, but also Karl Jansky in the 1930s. Again, recording equipment that would allow people to disseminate and research the alien communications didn't exist until the 1950s. And of course, on the right at the bottom is LIGO, the Laser Interferometry Gravity Observatory. And that became operational in 2002, but it needed an upgrade to detect gravity waves in 2016. So if the aliens had been sending messages before these times, we would not have received them. And in fact, if they are using some technique that we don't even understand right now, like, for example, I'll make up something, dark matter waves. If they exist, we certainly have no way to receive them now. So the first question is, can we receive an alien message? The SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, they depend on radio wave. And it is a good way for alien communication to occur. It does cover over a long distance in the cosmos. So another question is, who is the intended target? Now, in Contact, we knew we were the intended target because it repeated something that we had sent as being back to us. But we didn't consume the message. Continue on. Supposing it went to another civilization, what would they think? Would they think it was meant for them? Would they think we had sent it somehow? And so we need to know who the intended target is. In some cases in science fiction, broadcast messages are done. And then everybody is the intended target. All right. Now, another thing is, supposing there were alien civilizations which had established colonies. We were between the ocean and their colony, and they were sending messages back and forth. Those were not for us. They might not be even understandable to us, might not be decodable, even if we receive them. Our methods of making messages which cannot be understand. So this is another possibility that we receive a signal. The last question I'm thinking is, what is the sender's intent? First, perhaps it's just he wants to send out all of his knowledge to the cosmos because he's so smart and he wants to show them smart. Or he just wants to say, hey, I'm here. Where are you? But then the other possibility is that he means some sort of danger for us. He wants to send something eventually allow us to destroy ourselves. So sender's intent is important. It's like getting say it with a sneer. It's not really careful. This groups sent. Okay. The audio's not working? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Wait. Let's see. So, so I was saying that since 1970, human groups have been sending messages to the cosmos for about 30 years. Generally, they are just here I am kind of messages. But a lot of them were, as found out about it, they said, don't tell them we're here. They might come and invade us. But they have done it. So it's out of the bag already. And haven't we already received an alien message? This is the famous wow message. It was received by the Ohio State University's Big Ear. This is on August 15th, 1977. Astronomer Jerry Ehrman saw this on the printout a couple of days later, and he circled those letters there. That's not the actual communication. That just indicates the intensity of the signal over 72 seconds as shown by the chart on the right side of that slide. 6, you'll notice low, Q, only lasted. It's never been repeated. It's never been adequately explained. Been lots and lots of theories. One was a passing, but that's probably not right. Recently, some scientists at the Murchison Wide Field Array Telescope, radio telescope in Australia, they were annoyed by getting TV signals, which they should not have gotten, and they realized that these signals were bouncing off of commercial jet airliners passing by. So perhaps something like that happened with the WOW signal. But again, no one knows for sure this one, but since it's never been repeated, it can't be really analyzed. Okay, so now this has all been so far about fiction, speculation, and a failed message. So I introduce you to somebody who has created a project to simulate an alien message being received. This is Daniela DePaulis, and her project is called A Sign in Space. She's a former contemporary dancer. She's also a radio astronomer. She is a media artist. She is a artist in residence at the SETI Institute and at Green Bank Observatory. And she has published numerous academic journal articles, and her research is being funded by the Baruch Bloomberg Fellowship in Astrobiology. Now, she wants her art, she's an artist first and foremost, and she wants her art to use as wide a canvas as possible, as she put it, from the stage to the city, to the fields, to the ocean, and now with this new project, to the cosmos. Information about this was in lots of different media places. It was in newspapers and certainly on the internet. It eventually involved the support of the Green Bank Observatory, the SETI Institute, and INAF, which is the Italian National Institute for Astrophysics, and ESA, and a panel of experts that she put together to get this done. She conceived of this project as a way to simulate a first contact message from space. It started in 2019 as she put together a panel of experts and specialists to decide how to encrypt a message. And it was trying to produce a message that was as alien as possible. And if you think about that, that's very difficult to do because none of us are aliens. We are all humans, and so we have human and Earth shared experiences. So it's difficult to get outside of that and produce a truly alien message, but that was their goal. Okay, she wanted to include as many people as possible too, because she noticed that in fiction, it's almost always true that some small group gets control or stewardship of the message, and they can do what they want with it and keep other people from using it. But that's not what she wanted. She took her idea from this quote by Dr. Sherry Wells Jensen. And I'm not going to read this all to you. You can read it faster than I can speak it. But the last two sentences are the most important for this. She said, the very worst thing we can do is leave it to professionals to fuss over. It'll be a glorious It'll be a glorious all hands on deck cacophony of thought and conjecture. Give it to as many people as possible and let them get at it in any way they think possible. So that's how she wants to decode it. This is the most important part of the project, A Sign in Space. She set up a website very early on, asignin.space, and a Discord channel. And there was a lot of activity on the Discord channel during this whole project. And by the way, the title A Sign in Space is the title of a short story by an Italian author, Italo Calvino, and it's about an alien being who wants to leave behind some sort of message showing that he existed. And that gives the author the chance to play around with the ideas of the signs not being the same as the message, and the fact that you can't really produce a detailed message with just one symbol. Okay, so they were working on creating what they hoped would be an alien message. And before that, they decided to start with actually sending the old Arecibo message, which is shown on the right side of that diagram. This is a message that was sent from the Arecibo Observatory, radio observatory, toward the globular cluster Messier 13 in 1974. Now, as it turned out, that's where Messier 13 was in 1974 in terms of where they aimed it. But of course, given the motions in the cosmos, by the time it got there, Messier 13 had moved on. But anyway, we hope will be observed by somebody. This is the color version of it. It's actually just dots and dashes. In other words, on and off bits. But it starts with the numbers, then it's the atomic numbers of the elements in DNA, and then amino acids that make up DNA, and so on. So it also shows a picture of a person, shows the solar system, the sun being that big block in yellow, Mercury, Venus, then the Earth, you'll notice, is higher on than the other ones, and the other planets showing their size. And finally, it gives a sort of an idea of the Arecibo observatory telescope as it was at that time. This has now collapsed. They were able to convince this company, D-Orbit, put it on to send it from their Ion satellite carrier, Dauntless David, from, let's see here, from about 500 kilometers up. And it was received very well by the Vivaldi antenna of the Sardinia Radio Observatory and the Medicina radio antenna of INAF. So this positive test encouraged the group, allowed them to go to other companies and say, would you carry our message back to Earth for us, once they had built this message that they figured would be alien. And they were able to work with the European Space. Someday I'll figure out why this keeps sliding. That's better. With the European Space Association. And they have a satellite called the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. So what they wanted to do was test it. So what they tested was sending this image below the orbiter there. And that is the team for the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. And they made some passive tests where they had ESA send that message back to Earth a couple of different times in 2023. That worked. Okay, so they had it working right. So the message then was created, which they hoped was an alien type message. And they went to a live performance on the 24th of May, 2023. It was live streamed everywhere in the world. They had to wait for the trace gas orbiter to come out from behind Mars. And then 16 minutes to get here, as Mars was 290 million kilometers away. at the time, and it was received by the Medicina radio antenna in Italy, the Green Bank Observatory in West Virginia, and the Allen Telescope Array in California, which is the lowest. So the one on the left is the Medicina radio telescope. Green Bank is on the right, and below that is the Allen Telescope Array telescope. And there were over 100 global media articles describing the reception of the signal. It was also received by the Reigi station in Santa Maria in the Azores, which is Portuguese, the Aries antenna in Spain, and the Bochum radio observatory in Germany. And so it gives you a sense of the fact that if an alien message were really being sent toward Earth, many different organizations would receive it pretty much simultaneously. So it wouldn't just be the property of any one science group. And given the internet now and the dissemination of information, I don't think anyone could have claimed it or kept it from being disseminated very widely. So they received this message that Daniela De Paulus's team had put together, and they had to start decoding it. So this is the first try to decode it. This is a SIG-MF recording. They were available for download right away. They're made available for download. SIG-MF is an open source, open knowledge way of storing radio observatory messages from satellites. They include two files. One is the actual digitized radio signal, and the other is a description of how it was made. You can see here, I will try doing the audio for this one again. We'll see what happens. The first person that said it, well, I'm getting your internet connection is unstable. Maybe I should not even try. Let's see what happens. That's about right. Okay. The first researcher thought, I'll just listen to it and see what happens. And I don't think that's very useful for the structure. Of course, in the movie Contact, the blind character whose name I've forgotten says, I hear structure, I hear structure. I hear structure here too, but not useful structure. Okay, that was the first try. And so this is not useful for decoding. So they went through some decoding steps. They identified the CCSDS protocols used by the trace gas orbiter. Here's the problem with using a known satellite. There are manuals on the internet which describe how the satellite transmits information. So it's not really very alien, unfortunately, and it gives them a big leg up. Now it still isn't going to be, it's still difficult to figure out where the message might be, because there are all kinds of streams coming from any satellite. There's data, and there's telemetry, and there's protocols for making sure timing is correct, and so on. And the message could have been hidden in any of these. So it's easier than if it were an actual alien message, but it's still not easy. So Danielle Estevez went through several steps using the technical manuals to arrive at a file of ones and zeros that contain what they called the space packets, which are transmitted by the trace gas orbiter. And that made that file available to all the people on the Discord channel so everybody could play with it. All right. And this is the decoding preliminary result. Now, this was done by a guy by the name of whose username is Batch Drake. I was not able to get real names off of the Discord channel. So this is from Batch Drake. He worked with 4 others, looked at a certain part of the stream, which are denoted as APID hex 17 packets. I don't know why it's called that, but it's part of what the trace gas orbiter sends. He found that if he took off the beginning 10 bits and final 10 bits of the message portion from that one of those packets, he would have exactly 65,536 bits. And as we all know, that's 256 by 256. So he figured, I'll make a picture out of it. I'll use black for the 0 bits, white for the 1 bits. I'll start at the top and go from left to right. And then as I use up the first 256, next I'll go from the top, make the next row and the next row and so on. Of course, it's a very human and a picture file. So not terribly alien, but was a good guess. This is what he got. Preliminary result. So was sort of correct, he thought. What he said then, let me read this to you. What is this? Another star cluster pointing to the location. These are some of the ideas considered, but no one is quite sure. This image has been labeled as the best far found by some participants. Meanwhile, the effort continues to explore other parts of the data and to find other possible ways to interpret the APID 17 packets. All right. Well, so other people looked at this. The first group said that's some sort of star map. And there were other interpretations. Papercraft, that was from Elizabeth Pietolat. Mario Pierluigi, Pierluigi, thought it might be Braille. That's the next diagram on the right. Georges Attard said, well, maybe it's puzzle pieces for some sort of game we're supposed to play. And Rosanna D'Agostino, I think she had the most imaginative idea. She said, that's the one on the bottom left. She said, this was a desperate plea in their own graphic language of a civilization being devoured by their own star. I don't think so. Never can tell. Okay, so anyway, and then people suggested early in the decoding process, maybe star map was actually starting position for a cellular automata. Oh, what is a cellular automata? All right, so imagine you have a grid of squares, like the big image there on the left. And each square is either empty, which means it's dead, or it's filled in, which means it's alive. And you have some sort of rule set which will tell you how to get the next generation of cells from the one you've got. And as you can see, I've got it marked which ones will be alive and dead. What I'm using here is the John Conway set of rules that he established in 1970 for cellular automata. And the rules are, rule 1 is an alive cell with 2 or 3 alive neighbors stays alive, else it becomes dead. A dead cell with 3 alive neighbors becomes alive, else it stays dead. So what I've done is I've marked the ones that will be alive in the next generation. because they each have, there are dead cells with 3 alive neighbors. And the ones marked D are the ones that are going to be dead in the next one because they have either too few or too many cells. The ones on the bottom only have 1 alive neighbor, and the one on the top has 4 alive neighbors. So they're both going to be dead in the next one. So it shows on the right then the same first generation and then the second generation, what it looks like. So it's amazing how far you can go with this. Let's see if I can do this correctly. All right, here's a little animation of this. So simple rules, simple starting image, and you get a lot of very interesting images. This goes on for a lot more until it gets to a stable point where everything is just stuck in one position. All right. So there were people who suggested maybe this was a cellular automata. But the problem was, what were the rules? Now, a father-daughter team who want to remain anonymous, so I'll refer to them as John and Sarah, began to develop this idea of a cellular automata. And they went through many different sets of rules, and they watched the progression of this star map over many generations. In fact, they finally watched it over 6,625 generations using simple rules that were reversible and only depended on 2x2 cells. And this is what they eventually saw after 6,625 generations. They are amino acid diagrams. Now, these are a standard kind of stick and ball diagrams in chemistry. We're showing amino acids. Now, these are not well-known amino acids. You may have seen lysine as a supplement, or tryptophan. Those are amino acids that are fairly well known, but these are not. So there are 5 amino acids here. I won't read the names of them. You can see them on the diagram on the right side. I hope it's big enough to be able to see. And they present June 7th of 2024, John and Sarah presented this amino acid map to Daniela De Paulus, and she accepted it as the solution to the message. So they got it right. But here's the problem. What does it mean? Why these 5 amino acids? Are they important somehow to the sender? Can you build something with them? There were no answers like that. And Daniela De Paulus and her team refused to answer any more questions about what the ultimate meaning of this message is. Part of this is that she started early in the project with, how can we assign meaning to something so detached from our terrestrial experience and possibly beyond our cognitive abilities? Now, clearly this is not detached from terrestrial experience, because they used they came to a very standard ball and stick representation of amino acids. If they had had some other kind of representation, they might never have recognized it as a possible solution. So people now on the Discord channel are still talking about what could be done with these amino acids and what should be done with them. But biochemistry is a vast subject, and so there's lots of different leads to try. So far, nobody has come up with anything that seems right. So she also said from the very beginning that this whole project was a work of theater, and the decoders were actors trying to look for something that they weren't even sure they could find. Now, it's been a big success. There are many people who got involved with this over the entire world, United States mostly, also Italy. Other countries have had many different people to the Discord channel, and from over 184 countries. Now, I updated this on January 19th, 2025, maybe more now. The Discord channel is still live. If you want to get onto it, go to assignin.space and then click on Discord and get assigned. It's not hard at all, and you can read whatever's going on. So let me just read two excerpts, rather philosophical comments, excuse me. First is from Georges Attard in France. I was fascinated by the sociological dimension, how a group of people unknown to each other and from various disciplines can collaborate to try to decode, organize themselves, try to solve an extremely complex problems that surpasses each individual. And the other one is by a person whose username is the Voroscope. This process may be less about the message itself than how about a group of self-selected people go about trying to decode a message. We may never figure out what it says, but that doesn't mean we don't derive some meaning from it. And so the question remains, what does it signify? Now, I don't mean to criticize the project because it's quite amazing that they were able to get as much as they could. But I do need to make some comments here. So the transmission came from an existing satellite, which made it easier to decode the signal. That's clear. It wasn't easy, it was just easier. Of course, this was necessary to keep the cost down. If they had to launch their own satellite, it would have been much more expensive. We won't get the kinds of manuals if we find another message from space we're able to use to be able to decode this signal. And secondly, the use of this well-known ball and stick model of amino acids made it instantly recognizable to the father-daughter team, the decoders. So very much a human project does kind of simulate what would have to go on if we received an alien message, how people would have to do together. So I think in summary, I think it's a fantastic project. It is a piece of theater. It's a simulation of an alien message, a forum to bring together people to work cooperatively on a solution to a very large problem. So I congratulate Daniela DePaulis and her team. Now, my answer to the topic question that we started with, could we understand an alien message, is maybe. If the aliens want us to be able to decode it, I think we will be able to decode it. They will have to include clues that will allow us to get a handle on what has been sent. It will not be encrypted, probably. It would have to be open. In contact, the only part about it was that they had a 3D model. In in Jack McDevitt's book, these text, they just started with the math and science principles at the beginning of the message. We're able to decode the entire encyclopedia. So if the aliens want us to be able to decode it, I think we will be able to. And I hope it will be easier to decode it than decoding words, because we are doing a very poor job on that one so far. We don't know much about it. Surprisingly, these are references that you can use to get to the science space, and then click on Discord. There's a YouTube is available. Send it to the president if he wants to distribute it. And you can do a YouTube.com search for phones. You will find a lot about the science space. Went through that very quickly, so I should ask any questions.
Question for Bill? I have a question. So you mentioned so that if aliens would be sending a message here that everyone would receive the message at the same time, but how can that be if the receivers are all looking at different parts of the spectrum, parts of space at different functions? So maybe only one or two would be receiving something. Are you just relying on the data to be instantly broadcast through the internet to the rest of the world? Or?
I'm relying on the fact that there are more and more radio telescopes going up all the time, that some are doing surveys of the sky, not just looking at specific places. And number three, I am depending on the fact that our current internet, everything will be disseminated as soon as it's someplace. I'd be very surprised to find out that someone will be able to keep it quiet. And in fact, even if some government receives it, some government facility receives it, and the government decides it must not be disseminated, I think it will be disseminated, given how easy it is for hackers to take like bank material and say, if you don't pay us some money, we're going to send this out to everybody. My guess is that it will get out. People would, Noah's asking me, you would have to know, go ahead.
I was saying the hackers will have to know that it's there, that someone has received it to actually go hack and disseminate it.
I agree with that, but what I've learned about science, I've been watching science for a long time, is that it's hard to keep things quiet. When I see papers on archive.org, there's often many, many different people who have been involved in the research, not just scientists, but people like imagers and writers. And it's often multinational. You find names from just about every nationality. So it's a lot harder to keep things quiet than people think. Oh, there are questions. Oh, yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi. Probably in the last few years, there hasn't been anything that has popularized aliens more than Ancient Aliens on History Channel. It's one of the most popular shows. What do you think about that? Do they get some of it right? Are they totally off base? Do they stretch things?
Okay, I'm being asked if what is the name of the group? Ancient Aliens on the History Channel? History Channel. Okay, I haven't seen any of it. I would be surprised if any of it is completely correct. My guess is they take something that really did happen, but then kind of embellish it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't really know. I have not seen it, but I'm guessing that it's not something you want to rely on. I'm sorry? I don't know. Okay. This one question is, forget about setting, what about actual sightings of aliens on our planet? Some fighter pilots have seen very strange things, displays, searching. Oh, let me say that I have seen documentaries about UFOs. Seeing them. So for me, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm pretty convinced that what these people were looking at were artifacts, imaging systems. It's pretty easy to get a bright object which seems to be following you in an imaging system with under the right conditions. And it's a lot harder to believe that it's actually an alien spaceship. So maybe UFOs really do exist, although they're now being called UAPs, identified aerial phenomenon, I think. Yes.
My question is, if you think about the Voyager spacecraft now trying to send signals and it's barely outside of our solar system, have they calculated what level of signal they might even expect from a local star and how strong an emitter they would need to actually get a decent signal here and pick it up? Just wondering if those calculations.
Yes, actually, the calculations have. I'm trying to remember what the radio telescope, the size of the telescope, labs, was able to send signals that could be seen by a similar sized radio telescope, and of hundreds of thousands of letters. Now, I wish I knew the exact number for it. Plus the calculations have Arecibo, after its collapse, they talked about producing an even larger radio telescope. Of course, the Bath telescope in China. So we could be sending things pretty far already. Civilizations, if they exist, could be sending it also. In some cases, for those calculations that I've seen, yes, they were directional. But in the book, the Hercules text, the aliens were so advanced that they were able to modulate a star's output. So they could measure its, and they could modulate its radio output at an entire star. So you can imagine that would be quite powerful to be able to broadcast for quite a distance.
Those communications still are limited by the speed of light. So Earth has been transmitting radio waves for 125 years. So we've only reached out 125 light years away.
That's correct. And in fact, it's been pointed out to me in my research that a lot of those signals never really got anywhere because radio and television and so on were designed to keep the transmissions in the atmosphere so they could be received without having to put too much power into it. It's true that the first television programs, which feature in contact, were profligate. I mean, they really put so much power into them that they could be seen at a very long distance, but not now. However, given that we're transmitting to satellites like the Voyagers, those signals,
one light day away.
right?
Yes.
But those signals will keep going. Someday they may be received by somebody else.
Any other question for Dale?
Oh, another one. Okay, good. Bottom one there. Aliens must know how to travel faster than the speed of light. I am a physics person. It is possible. All I can say to that is, I don't know how.
Show us.
Perhaps you should write an article.
Do a member presentation at the next MAS. We'd be happy to hear it. All right, Dale. So thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting.
Thank
So-
you. Thank you all for listening and staying for the presentation.
All right,
Thank you.
that's all we have today. I'm not gonna put up my last slide. Last slide is just thank you. And we are meeting at Pizza Luce as we do it. You can join us for post meeting if you wish. Join us for a pizza and beer if you want. Otherwise, 1 month, next month, we will have another speaker, and we'll see you in a month.